It is Japan versus the Springboks in the fourth quarterfinal. I'm doing this video with the IMBIBER, so check it out right now. Welcome back to SkinnyBru Rugby, guys. So I have done a couple of videos for all the quarterfinals so far. Remember to check out all of them. They'll probably be linked up there. I have skipped one though. I will be doing that tomorrow. Today I'm talking to the IMBIBER from Japan about this Japan versus Springboks game. How are you doing, man?
Oh, coping. Just 4 weeks into the tournament. I'm hanging on. I've put on a lot of weight. I've probably drunk far too much, and I've seen some good games of rugby though, so it's been really good being here and being in the atmosphere of Japan, because they're really enjoying it. They've really taken to it. It's been a great World Cup so far.
Yeah, you've been attending quite a few games, and there's still a few lined up for you. Just for everyone that doesn't know you, just give a quick backstory.
Yeah, mate. I'm in Japan. I've been here for a very long time. I started a channel about a year ago to help out with people understanding a bit more about Japanese rugby. And I do it in both English and Japanese. I have pretty good... I do watch a lot. I've supported the Sunwolves since they started. I support a little bit of the top league stuff, and I follow a little bit of the university and high school stuff as well. So I've got a pretty good balance on what's going on in the Japanese sort of rugby scene.
Yeah, and that's why I'm talking to you. That's the ideal person to talk to about the Japanese rugby. No one else better to talk to. So if we look at the tournament so far, South Africa, they've won 3 out of their 4 games. Obviously, that one that they lost to New Zealand in the first week by 10 points. On the other hand, Japan, they've had a great tournament so far, 4 wins. What do you think of them so far in this tournament?
Well, you can't really fault them, eh? For a start, South Africa, they've played well. I mean, they just had, I think New Zealand just played better on the day, unfortunately for them. But they're still in there, and that's the whole point. And I think the top 2 teams were on that day. Japan has outdone everyone's expectations, and I think only maybe 2 of that team knew, and maybe Jamie Joseph and Tony Brown knew. But other than that, no one had an idea that they're going to roll Ireland, and then again just keep going and beat other teams and beat Scotland too in that last game, and it was just electric, mate.
Yeah, no, man, and everyone still remembers it. The quick brief history of the 2 sides is clashes against each other. Everyone still remembers back in 2015, Japan actually beat South Africa. South Africa is still struggling to get over it. But now we are joined by a couple of other tier 1 nations that has also lost. So I think it's getting a little bit better from our side. But what do you think? Is Japan ready to do it again over the Springboks?
Well, I think if it's going to happen, it'll happen this weekend. And they've only got one chance. And I think they've dealt with the pressure of, how do you say, the whole weight of a nation. 60 million people tuned into that the other day. That's half the nation. Let alone, you know, the people at the game, people at all the bars around the country. But not only that, they've got belief and they've got confidence. And I've talked to Tony Brown before, actually, about this. And he says they're a real confidence team. And once they have just a little bit of confidence and realise that they can do this and can take over and beat these tier 1 teams, they're going to keep going with it. And I think they're playing the style of rugby that they can actually break these bigger, more, you know, settled sides down that are better at the set piece, you know, and put them on parity.
Yeah, they are kind of riding the confidence train at the moment, because another thing that they are also saying for this weekend, it's basically South Africa versus the world at the moment. Everyone is backing Japan at the moment. If you aren't backing Japan at the moment, we don't know what's wrong with you, because I mean, if I wasn't a Springbok supporter, I would have been backing the Brave Blossoms here. So it is a pretty big confidence boost for them at the moment.
It is. I mean, they're playing good looking, enjoyable to watch rugby as well, I think. And that's and I think especially the teams that are a bit like Ireland, you know, they do play kind of boring rugby in a way, you know, and it was good to see them beat them really good at an exciting game with hitting the line at a lot of pace. And I think they've just been playing very well and nice rugby to watch, and it's been refreshing to sort of see that, and maybe taking a few more risks at a World Cup that maybe a tier 1 team wouldn't take, you know?
Yeah, well, Japan is now probably officially tier 1 team though.
You'd probably say that. 1.5, I guess, at the moment, but they should be. They're very close. They're very, very close. I think. Which one would you put them in, though? Would you put them in the Northern Hemisphere or the Southern Hemisphere? I mean, it's a tough question, too. They're technically in the North, yeah?
Technically, but time zones do give it a problem to them. It's probably easier for them to join the South.
Yeah, and I think their style would probably suit it a little bit more. Even though the North would love to have Japanese style up there, doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
It'd be very, very interesting. But definitely, good. It'll be good to see them next year and really branch on from here.
Yeah, no, it's a good aspects for them. Okay, so let's get into the teams a little bit. For South Africa, the front row, they are lining up. The veteran beast is going up, Matuararira. Then they have Mbunambi at hooker, above Marks, actually, who has been the first choice for quite a while now, but Mbunambi has outplayed him.
Yeah.
And I think he deserves it. He's been in great form, especially at the back of mauls. And then Malherbe at the other prop, he has one job in that team, and that is to scrum.
Yeah.
It's his only job in the team, and he does it very well. How about the Japanese side?
Well, we got Inagaki, Horie, and Ku. And Ku is that Malherbe job. He's there to scrum, but he's also, he's there to defend. Horie has been actually really, really good. And what you didn't see in your warm-up game is that he didn't even play at all, yeah? And so we held him back in that respect. And he's a super key man of this Japanese team. He's an ex-captain of the Japan team, so he's a leader in that role. Especially in a hooker role, you'd need that. And he's just been playing really well and sort of leading that scrum. And Inagaki is a scrummager too, and he's a defensive scrummager, loves his defense, doesn't mind to get dirty. Their scrum has actually shocked a lot of people, and they actually got a few scrum penalties against Ireland. They pushed the Scottish back and getting some scrum penalties, and if you remember in that warm-up game, they actually got one against the South Africans when I think your bench came on. So yeah, it's very, I think a lot of people don't equal Japan as a scrumming nation, but they've actually done a lot of work there, and they've done 200 days together, so you'd hope so. Yeah,
look, I do see Japan at the moment as a scrumming team. They have worked a lot on it, especially I do like Ku a lot. He's very good. Horie, he's one of my favorite players. He's in my fantasy team, so I always get
lots of points coming your way.
I always get points from him. So it is quite an interesting battle up front. It could be pretty difficult to decide over there, but from a South African perspective, our props basically they do just the scrumming. That's all. Maybe Beast, he gets some crash ball, but the rest of it, there's no real defense from it. That's the only thing they do. That's what they are saved for. So
I think they obviously do a lot of clean out work around the breakdown as well, which is good, but I feel that the South Africans are they're going to try and tire our front row out so they're not as effective on the defence. And so they've put, Beast on Mbumbi as well, and of course Malherbe, because they weren't starting, I don't think, very much until they're always generally the power play off the bench. I've seen a lot in this year out of the South African team, so it's interesting to see that he's gone this direction.
Yeah, look, I think Beast and Mbunambi, they are purely there because they played themselves in there.
Yeah.
They've started now, I think, 2 games. This is now their second start, or maybe their third one. They've really just played themselves in there. They've really been in great form. So, yeah, look, our bench is just as good as the starting at the moment. So it's a pretty easy choice for a coach, or is it a difficult choice? You don't really know.
Well, it depends on what tactics they're going for, and I think they're going to try and tire them out, and hopefully that force the Japanese into mistakes, and be happy to scrum. I think that's the key there.
Yeah, that's probably what they want to do. Then the locks for South Africa, they went with Etzebeth. He retained his spot, even though RG Snyman has really been pressuring him to get his spot. I mean, RG Snyman, I think it was a
big call.
A man of the match performance against Italy. That guy, he has the hands of Sonny Bill Williams, man. He can really offload a ball. And then
skillful locks.
And then Luat de Jager, he's the other lock. He's still preferred over Mostert after having a couple of man of the match performances behind his name as well. And the thing that he does really well is his line out calls. He is a master at it. South Africa is the only team in the competition that has 100% line-out success. So for 42 out of 42.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
It's pretty impressive, eh? And I think that's where they'll target as well. I think the South Africans are definitely trying to go for that set piece and, you know, and try and start their game there. There's nothing new that they're going to bring to this game, I find. And I think when you look at that type 5 that they've come out with, it's exactly that. We've got, for Japan in the locks though, we've got Luke Thompson and James Moore, very, very old, very, very young, but defensive, like a real classic sort of Irish, Scottish 4 and 5 that are just going to get their hands dirty in the defence, and they've gone with that to try and get that quick breakdown that you see the Japanese have. They're like that ruck speed is just phenomenal. Probably the fastest ruck speed, maybe bar the All Blacks at the World Cup, and I think it's down to those two guys that are putting in defence and hitting rucks. Line out time though, like you said, definitely not quite there, but compared to what Japan was during even the Pacific Nations, they have been very, very accurate comparatively to what they were before in the line-out, and I think that is a little bit of a tip of the hat to their practice as well. Just like their scrums are not perfect, but they're pushing good teams backwards, and they're going to cause a little bit of trouble. Maybe not the South Africans, but maybe they'll have something for that, and I hope they do in that respect.
That's how you measure up to go against the best. The best at the moment at line-out time is probably the Springboks, so that's how they are going to actually see how far they have gotten in that respect. Look, Thompson, in South Africa they call him the Japanese Matfield, so
yeah,
there is something there. There has to be some truth in that. Hopefully it's not just in respect to his age, and hopefully it's some knowledge that comes with it.
God, he's aging by the day, if you look at him. Poor bugger. 4th World Cup, I mean, he's amazing. He's a legend.
Yeah, no, he is a legend, but all that experience he brings into the side, you can't ignore that.
Oh yeah, I think it's huge, especially in these pressure situations like a quarter-final. So yeah, definitely. Okay,
then loose forwards front, they have Siya Kolisi as captain. He's one of the biggest inspirations in South Africa, so there's a lot of stuff on his shoulders. A lot of people backs him. Then it is Pieter-Steph du Toit at number 7. He has a tractor engine, man. He never stops. He just goes. He is the big tackler in the team. We can compare him to Lapis Labuschagne from the Japanese side as well.
Yes.
Both of them are very similar players as well. Both of them like their tackles. Both of them like being physical. And then Vermeulen at number 8, he has spent a lot of time in Japan.
He has.
He's going over there next year as well. So that's a very important aspect as well for the forwards. He is a big leader in that front pack. He does know how to manage the game well in Japan.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, a lot of the South African team have played here, and Vermeulen is definitely one of those guys. I've actually got him on my calendar I've got a Kubota calendar that he's on, so that goes to show, you know, he was a big deal in Kubota, and hopefully he's getting paid a lot of money. But I mean, I think this is probably out of that forward pack where we're going to get the parity with those three, even though they're fantastic players. I think our three of Michael Leach, the captain, very inspirational himself. He's recognised everywhere now. Of course, Lapis as well, Labuschagne, and Kazuki Himeno has been, for a lot of people that don't know him, a real breakout player in this tournament and has hit this real purple patch of form. And finally people are waking up to his actual ability, and that Japanese people have known, or people that follow Japanese rugby have known about him for a very long time. This young fella that's probably going to take over the captaincy eventually. I think he's definitely been sort of shaped towards that, but he's just showing this real maturity at such a young age of just, you know, great running, can get that jackal going on very well, and I think they complement each other very, very well as well. So it's really good to see it. And I think that's very similar to the South African pack as well. At the back three there, they do complement each other very, very well, and I think that's the real key that you see with good loose combinations these days in the World Cup.
Yeah, I think the loose forwards are very similar of the two packs. Like if you compare each player to their respective number, they are very similar players as well. They do very similar things on the park as well. So it is going to be a very interesting battle at that front, especially at ruck time for me as well.
Yeah. Rucks are going to be huge. I think the South Africans, I know we'll talk about this later, but they're going to try and slow the Japanese down somehow. And if they can get away with it, they're going to push that penalty boundary a bit, and so they should. And if they can get away with it, they're going to really slow them down. But if you've got those three that are clearing out rucks or keeping your defence on your toes by maybe doing the quick pick and go, you know, and hitting those lines and actually getting over the gain line. I saw a stat the other day that Lapis, he has the most percentage of gain line advanced gain line in the whole tournament. So that's a real showing that he's also a weapon in attack, not just in defence, which he's sort of famed for.
Yeah, he's a very strong runner. I still remember him playing over here in Bloemfontein for the Cheetahs. So I've seen him for quite a while. Okay, then the halfbacks, Faf de Klerk, he remains in his spot despite pressure from Reinach and Herschel Jantjies. Look, this game he needs to perform, because I think if he doesn't perform in this game and we do progress to another game, he is going to lose his spot, because both of the guys behind him have been in great form. I mean, Reinach with his 3 tries the other day, the quickest hat-trick ever in a World Cup.
Yeah.
Then the number 10, Pollard, he's been good. A lot of pressure has come from the South African side on him. A lot of people are questioning his playmaking ability, which I do think is a little bit unfair. I do think he is quite a good playmaker. I think the game they are judging him on is the one against New Zealand. And on that particular game, Faf de Klerk had a very, very poor game.
Yeah.
And I think that when your number 9 has a poor day and he is kicking most of the time, your 10 is bound to have quite a bad day, because every now and then when he gets the ball, he is going to be under pressure. So I do think he is harshly criticized, but also he needs to just prove what he can still do. A guy like Pollard, he is someone that if he is under pressure, he can prove himself to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I agree. I think the pressure that they're putting on themselves is very much internal as well. I think they'll probably be the biggest critics of their own ability. You know what I mean? And I think after that New Zealand game, they would have had a good look in the mirror about it and really looked at what they needed to do. And I think they were very lucky in that respect, in that you had Namibia and Canada, of course, and of course Italy. I mean, they're not great teams. Italy, yeah, sure, it's tier 1, but it's just they've done nothing in the last 4 years, you know. I mean, they beat you guys 3 years ago, but that was like a completely different team.
Yeah, not at all the same thing.
You know what I mean? It was just like they've done really nothing since then, and I think it was a good chance to maybe get a little bit of confidence back in that respect. But also give those other young fellas a go, man, because geez, that hat-trick was just fire. He's quick. He's like a Brad Weber quick sort of guy, you know, in that respect. Talking about the Japanese though, you got Nagare, whose distribution has just been, that's purely what he's there for, is just to fire that ball out the back as quick as possible, and he's been doing a great job of that. I think in the Sunwolves, he was under a lot of pressure to, you know, step up to that game, and he really crumbled under that. But I think that has really helped him now, if you can understand that. He had those bad sort of games in the Sunwolves, throwing shocking passes, but now he's really tuned himself in. I think he's got a good coach in Tony Brown, sort of coaching him around it, and also Tanaka, who is on the bench as well, really sort of helping him out in that respect, and really focusing him on what his job is actually. And I think they've picked their roles down very well. And Yu Tamara has also come into he's a confidence player, and they've just gained with confidence over these pool stages. I think if you look back at the South African game, that it was good that they had that it was a thrashing, but it wasn't a thrashing as a powerful display. It was Japan making mistakes and the South Africans you know, capitalizing on those mistakes, and they were real basic under pressure mistakes, and it's good that they had that there to really, you know, switch the mind back in and, all right, hold on, we're going to a World Cup, we've got to man up a bit and focus. And I think he had a sort of average game in the Russian game, but Ireland, And then Samoa and then Scotland played 3 absolute stunners, and he's put himself into a real patch where he's controlling the team very well with kicks, even though they don't kick that much, but also giving great distribution, being a weapon of attack, you know, decoys, all sorts of things going on. He plays in the back. They switch around that back line a lot. If you look at that Scottish game, they've put Kinki Fukuoka into the first receiver a lot. So it's really switching up that play that's kept them very, very adept in their attack. And I think that's definitely down to him as well, controlling a lot of that. He's definitely the leader in that back line.
Yeah, no, he really does pose a threat. I think Nagare is dangerous. And then Tamura, I mean, he's the top scorer before this weekend. He is still the top scorer as I have it.
Yeah.
It has to prove something. He from the tee, he is dangerous. And he still keeps his spot, not just because he is very good from the tee. He is very good at running that back line. He is the general in that back line. And it's good to see that they have a player like that. That's just the ultimate playmaker.
I think he's actually hasn't been place kicking that well. His penalties have been absolute pies, but his conversions have sort of masked that. So he can't really kick like a South African could probably kick from 50 out. You know, he's got a real limit to his kicking, I think. And I think it's within about 30, 35. And you'll probably see that as well on Sunday. But yeah, like you said, I think he's in there not for that. He's in there for direction of the team. And they've really gone all in with him. So if they can, South Africa can really put pressure on him, I think they'll start to see the wheels fall off Japan. And he's a real key in that respect. And I think Nagare in well.
Yeah, and there is going to be a bit of pressure. We can talk about that now. Because obviously South Africa has the rush defense. And everyone knows about the rush defense. It's how you counter that that's going to actually affect the game. Getting to the players that are the key to that rush defense, the 2 centers, Damien de Allende, I think he's probably one of the centers of the competition. He's been having a great competition. Look, a lot of South Africans don't actually like him. He does get a lot of stick from South Africans, but he does have his set role. He runs, he bashes players. That's his thing. That's what he does.
Yeah.
But in this World Cup, every now and then you've seen subtle touches from him. At key times where he just gives a slight pop and then someone runs through. And then at number 13, the defensive organizer in our team, he is just so good at organizing defense. I think he gets 100% tackles every game. He's just so good. With defense, I compare him with Anton Leonard-Brown of New Zealand.
I think he's better than ALB in defense, to be honest. I think he's just the general of that backline, and you can see it in the big games too. He's really he just reads that attack so well, and I think he's very hard to get past in that respect. De Allende as well. He's just really he's doing his role. You know, he's doing all he can do. I think that's what you got to do. A lot of people that watch the game, and maybe South Africans as well as Kiwis that watch All Blacks, they're looking for just these amazing things every time. But really, at the end of the day, these guys are doing a role, being told by the coach. It's very boring, in fact, that they're trying to do a certain game plan, and they're generally going through with it, you know, and only just adding a little bit of touch when the game goes on, when they get a little bit more comfortable and the opposition is starting to tire. For Japan, in that respect, they've two of the real unsung heroes, I think, as well, is this Ryoto Nakamura and Timothy Lafaele. I think they've played very, very good. They've played every game too together. They're getting really good combinations. Nakamura as well. Distribution, I think those, you know, the number 9, number 10, number 12 distribution, the speed of distribution has given those guys on the outside, the speedsters, the Ferraris, all the ball they can get, and they've done a very good job. Nakamura as well, for a small guy, he's very solid, but he's also very good in defence, I think, and he's really, that Ireland game and the Scottish game, he really did really well. He's actually more of a defensive 12 as well. He's an all-round player. Then you've got Lafaele on the other side. He's not as great in defence, but I think because he's been covered by Nakamura, that's where they complement each other very well. But Lafaele, his offload game, his vision, he's like another number 10 at the 13 role. He's created tries, he's done try assists as well. he's generally, if you look at those Japanese tries, he's got a hand in there somewhere, you know, and it's quite an important tactical, well-read hand. And I think he is just that real key to getting those Ferraris on the wing just a little bit more, you know, when he gets a bit of time, it's very, very dangerous for that team.
Yeah, I think they are definitely the unsung heroes, like you say. They do get the ball out wide very quickly. But what makes them dangerous as well, especially Lafayette, if he gets a gap in front of him, he's gone as well. He can definitely take a gap as well. So I don't know. I haven't seen Nakamura taking gaps as much. I don't think he's going to get a lot of gaps in this game either, especially like we say with the line speed. It's going to be very important for these guys to have a good game and get the ball wide. They probably will be standing a little bit more deeper, the Japanese side.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to affect the running style of Japan a little bit, having the ball a little bit deeper than usual?
I think they actually pulled it back from that South African game before the World Cup. They actually, especially for the Ireland one, they definitely were a lot deeper in their attacking. And it was really interesting to see. And even in the Scottish one, they're definitely sitting a bit deeper, but just spinning that ball really wide. And I think you're right, Nakamura doesn't probably hit the line as much. He's really more another distributor. He used to be at number 10. So that was actually his first position when he was a lot younger and at university. So it gives you an idea of what type of player he is. But he's bulked up and he's gone into that number 12 role more so, as well as a defensive role. So hopefully, I mean, I think this game they're really going to be pushed on the defensive side of things. But I think they've really, I mean, they've had 4 really good warm-up games to deal with that and get used to it. It's just this next one that they've just got to get up for again, and I think they can. They have it in them.
No, they definitely have it in them, and just by them being there is proof enough for themselves. So they don't have to doubt in themselves, and that's the thing. They aren't going to doubt themselves like maybe in previous games, or they might have doubted themselves in previous games. This time around, they know they are there for a reason. They've beaten 2 big sides now in succession as well. They know they have beaten the Springboks as well. So, and half of the world is behind them. So that there's a bit of confidence that's going to come into this game. It's going to be a battle. I think from a South African perspective, a lot of people are predicting a little bit of a higher score. Okay, let's say it's 50-50. Some people are counting a higher score for South Africa. I'm not so sure about that. Let's get to the Ferraris of the teams. Like you're saying, South Africa has their own Ferraris as well. The battle out wide will definitely be the most exciting part of this game. This is what I want to see. Mapimpi at 11, a lot of times people don't see him as the most exciting wing in South Africa. He does get a tough time from South Africans as well because of his defense. He does get caught out of defense, out of his position a lot of times, but he does add so much on attack though. I mean, he has 11 caps to his name and he has scored 11 tries. So he does have a great try scoring record.
He wasted the Japanese in that game, eh? He's a huge threat. He's just, you know, I can understand. You know, it's a very tough position to have. He's number 11, is he not?
Yes.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like New Zealand and South Africa. It's the worst place to be in the wing. You're going to be in there one year and then out the next. You know, so he's under a lot of pressure. Sorry, carry on, mate. I know who you want to get to.
The guy we all want to get to, like you said, Cheslin Colby at number 14.
Yes.
Is probably South Africa's most in-form player.
Oh, by far.
Probably one of the competition's most informed players. He can score from anywhere. He just can step you in a mailbox, man.
Yeah.
And he's probably very similar to Fukuoka from Japan as well.
Yeah.
Very similar players as well. So that's going to be an exciting battle. And then at 15, the more experienced guy for South Africa, they stuck with Willie Leroux. I think it is probably important to stick with him. A lot of people wanted to go with Damian Willemse, who is now in the side as well.
Yep.
He does bring something else to the side as well, but I think when you get to quarterfinal stages, it is time to get some experience on the field as well. What is going on in the Japanese side?
Yeah, the Japanese back three, I'll just bring it up now. I mean, I know who it is. It's just good to see that. I mean, Kinki Fukuoka at number 11. I mean, the guy, like you said, Colby as well, is just... he's come into form again, and he finally got over that injury. It was unlucky that you didn't see him play. Well, lucky for us probably that you didn't see him play at that warm-up against South Africa. He was off within the first 2 minutes, you know, and it was just like, oh no, that's our best player going off the field. But he's come back. He got rushed into the side for the Irish game, came off the bench, scored a try, came off the bench in the Samoan game, scored another try, scored 2 absolute bangers in that Scottish game. It was just individual brilliance and just the speed, man. He was just exactly like, he's a little bit different to Colby. Colby's got more of a step, but I think Fukuoka's got a lot of skill set. He's just got that swerve and those really good hip movement that can just put people the wrong way, you know, and it's more of just hard speed over 40, 50 meters, you know, and it's just impressive to watch. We've got Matsushima, the South African-born Matsushima on the right wing. Thank you very much as well for him. He is playing really well too. I remember him getting smashed in the top league final by Adam Ashley Cooper of the Corbett team. He was in Suntory, just got absolutely smoked. And ever since then, he's been working bloody hard. And he's finally, after a year, pretty much, he's starting to hit his straps again. And I think it's been down to Tony Brown as well. Again, the backs coach of the Japanese team. And he's just really just hitting good lines, thinking, also getting back in defence like he was 4 years ago against you guys in that game in Brighton. He was part of that as well. It's another thing for him. You know, he's got that confidence. He knows he's one of those players that knows he can get across the line. And he's just hitting form too at the right time. Yamanaka at the back. They've changed out Tupou for Yamanaka. I heard Tupou was an HIA. This is the actually only change of the starting members. But Yamanaka brings a real different... He's quite a big boy for a Japanese guy as well, for a 15 too. And he's got a massive boot on him. And I think they're really... probably going to, even if they get into the stage where they can kick it out and get rid of that ball and give their forwards a bit of time to recoup, he's the man to give it to. He's got a massive boot on him. He's also good under the high ball, and I think judging by that previous game that the South Africans play against the Japanese, they're going to be looking at that kicking game a little bit more, I think, and trying to counter-attack, and I think that's a little bit why they put him in as well. Tupou HIA, I'm not too sure. I think this is a tactical decision to put him in.
Yeah, I want to add that I think it's probably tactical. I would have went with a fullback that can kick the ball as well for a knockout stage game. You want a guy that can kick the ball. If you are in trouble, you want to get that big boot and get that ball away. So it makes sense to get him on 15. Look, he's not going to trouble Cheslin Colby much if they're going to put up and unders under him. The one guy they could aim yet again, the guy everyone talks about, poor Mapimpi, he does struggle under the high ball. He does get out of position a lot of times, even with attacking high balls as well. A lot of times there's attacking up and unders and you just see it falling in the middle of nowhere because Mapimpi was rushing to the wrong spot. But look, I do get why he is there. He is so dangerous when he gets a little bit of open space in front of him. Willie Leroux, he can kick mostly off his right, but he also is talented with his left boot as well for South Africa. So that's why they have him at the fullback. It's a good choice to have someone to kick from both boots. Colby, he can kick as well, so that's also a good option. So I do think South Africa might have quite a kicking game lined up here.
I think Japan won't kick. I think they'll do what the Scottish game they did. They only kicked 13 times, I think, and that was like way down on the Samoan game. They kicked 30 in the Samoan game. They were averaging about 27, 28 kicks, and then they just didn't kick it. And it was just like, wow, they've changed it up, a different game plan. So they've got a game plan for everyone that they've played, and it's been really well thought out. I think now they've got to this quarterfinals, I think people were saying, oh, they've played their final last week. I kind of don't think they have. I think they were aiming for this quarterfinal, yeah? They're aiming for the best 8. But they were aiming for it knowing that they're going to get here. And when they got here, they were thinking about you guys and the Kiwis. They definitely thought about it. They've played you guys both in the last year, so they know what to expect, and they probably know where they could... They've got a plan, I think, as well. I think it'd be silly not to think that Jamie Joseph and Tony Brown, in that respect, have thought about, you know, trying to beat you guys somewhere, and they'll have a plan up the sleeve.
No, definitely they'll have a plan up their sleeves. And especially then it was also like, okay, let's just line up a friendly match just before the World Cup. And let's just see what type of game plan you are going to come up with.
Yep.
And let's just tweak our game plan a little bit to that. Look, they did get thrashed, but now they know, okay, we can change to another game plan. This one is going to work a little bit better. But the Springboks have been also altering their game plan a little bit. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Both teams are going to come in with a different game plan. I know for sure Rassie isn't going to go in with the same game plan. He knows Joseph will change his game plan, so Rassie will change his game plan as well. So, it's very smart coaches coming into this game as well.
It's great. It's kind of cool that we kind of don't know how they're going to play until the day, and I think that's a real tip of the hat to both teams and where they're at. And all of the games across the board are just, aren't they awesome? There's 4 absolute bangers this weekend. I just can't believe the quality of rugby that's going to happen this weekend in all games. And I get to see 2 of them, so...
Yeah, you're going to 2 of them. I'm just going to watch all of them.
Oh, you probably got a better view.
It's still not a live quarterfinal, man.
Yeah,
okay,
that's true.
The benches for the 2 teams, South Africa, we have Marx, Kitshoff, Koch. Like we said, they can easily be in the first team. Then RG Snyman, he brings just another dynamic to the side with his offloads. He's a running style lock in the team. Mostert, another lock in the side, but he can play at flanker as well, so it's a guy that can slot in a couple positions. Francois Lowe, he's in there to definitely steal some ball possession at the end of the game. There where the other side really wants ball possession, that's the time when he comes on and steals it in important times. I remember last year when South Africa won the game against France after the 80th minute. Francois Lowe turned over 2 balls after the 80th minute.
Yep, I remember that game. It was a good game, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's him. He does this kind of stuff, so he can handle the pressure. Then we have Herschel Jantjies, the youngster on the bench.
Yes.
And then, of course, Francois Steyn. We haven't seen his big boot come into play this much, but I think this week might be the chance where we see a 50 or odd meter penalty come into play. If the South Africans need it and there's a few penalties in the match, he might come on a little bit sooner into the match. It is a 6-2 split, so it might be interesting to see where he actually comes on. What
do you think? 6-2 split, it sort of gives away what they might play though, eh? You know what I mean? It's definitely going to be, hey, we're playing maybe an 8-man game, 9-10, kick it away, and then just back our defence for 80 minutes and swap the bench out at the right times. And maybe they're just going to do what they did the first time they played Japan this year, you know? I'm sort of pushing towards that, if you know what I mean. But yeah, the 6-2 split, Japan also did the 6-2 split a couple of times this year because they wanted to play it at pace, you know, and just really, and instead of being defensive-wise, really just take it to them in the forwards. But it's very interesting to see a South African side go down that route. You better hope that a back doesn't get injured, you know, and that is the, you know what I mean? That is the one thing that can really mess that up, is that, oh no, you've got Jantjies there and Steyn. At least Steyn is versatile, yeah? And I think that's the lucky thing. Yeah. How old is Frans Steyn? Frans Steyn must be... I think he's 32 at the moment. Maybe going up to 33, but I think it's 32 at the moment, so... I was going to say, he's been around for years, eh? It just seems like he has. He came on really early in his career, didn't he? So yeah, I think it was 19 years old. That's right. So yeah. And he's the only player in our team that has won a World Cup. So wow, he was there, was he? Oh my God, that is a long time ago, isn't it? Yeah, when he was that young, he won the World Cup. So he's the man you want in your team. Okay, Japanese bench. Right, let's get this through. Sakate is the hooker. Nakajima, a real revelation, and Ivalu, both of those two you're not losing anything on the bench either in that front row, I feel, especially defensive wise in the last 20 to 30 minutes. Even attacking, Nakajima, Isaleli Nakajima, a lot of people have actually picked him as their new prop and a really impressive prop. He was a number 8 until 1 year ago, and there you go. And you see a lot of people are like, oh my god, he's running so amazingly. Well, he's a number 8. He's a number 8 dressed as a prop, you know. But man, what an amazing guy to come and learn how to scrum in a year, you know. He must have just done a lot of work, and that could be a target. And I thought, geez, that's a weakness. But he's actually scrummed really well as well, you know, and it's amazing to see. He's a big boy. Then you got another South African-born guy, Wimpy van der Walt on the bench, and he is a lock calm sort of your loose as well. He's a very loose forward playing lock, not your biggest guy, but just amazing hard worker, and does suit the Japanese game very, very well. Then this guy off the bench, we've got Mafi on the bench coming on, and you've probably got the guy that ran the most. He ran the most 2 years in a row in the Super Rugby competition a couple of years ago. The guy is a weapon, and he's coming off the bench, and you can sort of see a little bit that they're going to play more of an attacking style with their loosies, if that's the case, and try and play it late in the game when maybe your big boys are tiring out a little bit. Something to keep an eye on, that's for sure, to get those, go over the gain line. You've got Fumiaki Tanaka, the guy with the experience coming off the bench. You've got Rikia Matsuda, who's covering pretty much, he's everything in the back there. He can do, and he's a centre, he's a number 10 cover, he can kick. And then you've got Lamano Lemeki as well, who was, you know, in the first team until 2 games ago, and then just, you know, he didn't even make the 23. So he's another weapon off the bench too. And I think you can sort of give that gives you an indicator of what game that the Japanese are going to play. They're going to play like they've been doing. They're going to try and run the South African team ragged, just like they did with the Irish. I remember seeing the Irish about 50-minute mark, and they were absolutely off their feet. And I knew straight away then, oh my God, we've got a chance. And sure enough, they followed through. So, South Africans, big boys, I hope they've done their gym work. I hope they've done their, you know, their aerobic fitness, because it's going to be an 80-minute game for a lot of these guys, and if not a little bit longer. So the fitness will be a real key against the Japanese. Japanese, they have played a very similar team for 4 weeks. They have only played about 8 games this year, so that's the only saving grace in that respect. But yeah, I think, judging by the selections, you can get a little bit of an inkling of what type of gameplay they're going for. It's same with the South Africans with that 6-2 split on the bench.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and that's why I think Rassie actually went with a 6-2 split, to get that forwards off, bring on new energy, because they are the big guys making most of the tackles, so they are going to be the ones that needs to have the energy at the end. Look, most of the guys actually have lost some weight since actually joining the World Cup.
Yeah, they're looking good.
They are looking good. They look like they can actually play that full time. I know, like guys like Argie Snyman and those guys can really play the full time. So, and that's the bench guys. So the starters are supposed to be pretty fit. Just maybe a little bit of questions with Malherbe. Maybe that's the only guy people maybe questions. But like I said, he's there for the scrums. That's what he does. Let's talk about the scrums. How do you think that's going to go down in this match?
Yeah, I think it'll be a real test for the Japanese, and it's going to be well, not their first big test. They've had 2 good tier 2 set piece based sides to test themselves against, and they've done very, very well at this World Cup. And I think that even in the South African game, I think they went back just a little bit, but they learnt a lot from that. I think they've got a lot better, and they've learnt from that and really worked on that side of things. I think the scrums will be very much 50-50, I think. And that's a real big prediction in that respect. And a lot of South Africans will be like, come on now, really? But I think that you have to respect this Japanese scrum. And I think it'll be a big test for them. But I think, you know, it's going to be a little bit both ways, I think. Yeah, I think you'll get the parity. You guys will definitely get us in the lineouts, and I think that'll be a big thing. But I don't think the Japanese are going to kick the ball out. So there you go.
No, definitely. The scrums are going to be 50-50. I do agree in that one. Line-out time, I do think, does favour the South Africans a bit, especially with the locks coming on as well, 2 great locks coming on as well. I mean, our number 7 is another lock in the side as well. It's just the lineouts are one of the key factors in the side. They really build on that. It's one of the stuff they really pride themselves on. It's just a pity Pollard, he hasn't been kicking out really far in the penalties thus far. It's not like some of the guys really kick out for distance. He's just goes for the 20-30 meters. So that's one thing that I don't like that much, but maybe he's worked on it. Maybe it was part of a strategy by then, but I've never seen the point of that much.
I see that a lot with kickers, that they don't really go for it. They just go for getting it out, you know, and go short a bit, you know. It's kind of weird. I always find that kind of weird as well. So, interesting tactics.
Yeah, no, definitely. Then at ruck time, it's also going to be an interesting battle. Like we said, that loose forwards really going to be interesting. The locks of Japan is really going to be a factor there as well, just how quickly they clean it out. And I do agree with you, South Africa is going to try and slow it down a little bit. I do think so. They are going to maybe try and push that penalty margin a little bit. And the referee might help the case a little bit. It is a European referee, so that might help the case a little bit. As far as I have it, it is Barnes. So
yeah, Wayne Barnes. Yeah, and Wayne Barnes' 20th Rugby World Cup match. There you go. It's the first referee to reach that milestone.
I do like him. I do think he's a very good referee. It would have been him or Nigel Owens for me if I had to choose my referees for the match. So I do think that the way he blows rucks might just do it for the South Africans, though. He is a little bit slower with rucks. From what I've seen, I don't know if he's maybe changed this game up a little bit in the World Cup, but what I've seen in the World Cup, he's been doing his same old thing, slow rucks, or reasonably slow rucks. So what do you think about that?
I think he's let the game play. I think they all have, I've noticed, a little bit more. They've sort of just let it go at ruck time a little bit more, I've found, instead of blowing every little infringement. And I can kind of see that's a good thing, you know, for the game in general. Whether that helps the team either way, I'm not too sure. I really don't know. I think it's a real. I think still Japan are going to try and go as quick as possible, and they've been doing that quite happily against very good teams as well. So I can see them still getting some sort of speed off that ruck. I don't think the forwards, and even going back to that South African warm-up game, it wasn't the forwards that was the issue. It was the backs that didn't perform and didn't execute and didn't defend, and they had bad defensive patterns against you guys and were making mistakes. And like I said, I'll say it again, the South Africans capitalised on that. But I think if our backs play well this game, I think you'll see a very different Japanese team, and I think the forwards will also really sort of work around that. And I think they'll just be doing their job again. A lot of people have been going, oh, it's the defence, the Japanese attack is all the thing that they are, but they've only had that attack because of the forwards doing that hard work, doing that good ruck clean out, working hard at the breakdown, and even getting good turnover ball. Defensive-wise, I've noticed a stat that Japan's at 88% tackling percentage here, and South Africa's only at 82%. So that's a real difference in that respect too, you know.
Yeah, I do think that is going to make a difference at the end. Hopefully the defense does stick for both sides. Hopefully a little bit more for the Springboks though. But another important thing that we're going to have to note in this game, the 9-10 combo, but it's going to be in a different aspect, because the 9-10 for Japan is going to be to get the ball quickly out as possible, get that ball out, and then for South Africa is to get their kicking game going and get that sorted out. So that battle, who do you think is going to dominate that one, especially because it's not the same kind of game plan?
I think you answered your own question there. I think two completely different game plans going head to head, and I think the last time we watched that, South Africans took it out because of the bad execution of Japanese. But this time, if Japan can get a little bit of parity in that respect, I think it'll be a really good game and a real good clash of styles too. And I think it'll be a really good game to watch. And I think that both teams might have to tweak a little bit their plans halfway through with the game plan. Like, you see good teams, they get to a point when they hold on, this isn't working, so they change it. You know, they change the plan. I think both teams are capable of that. And I think that you might even see that, especially in a high-pressure quarterfinal, where it's all or nothing, you know.
Yeah, no, the high-pressure quarterfinals is gonna really weigh on them. And I do think, like I said, the two are going to be completely different. And then another battle that's going to be important, the center battle. These are also different types of players. It's going to be Nakamura at number 12. He's going to be another playmaker in the side. And then the Islander just bashing into the Japanese side as he can. And then is going to obviously organize that defense a little bit. What do you expect from the Japanese side, except for just taking the ball out wide? Do you think they're going to do anything else in the midfield?
Yeah, I think, once again, really contrasting styles. I can't see them changing their game plan in that respect, but if they do, look for an intercept try from Nakamura. There you go. There's my pick for the weekend. Be careful. He can do it. He's actually an intercept king as well over here in Japan. Just keep an eye out for there. There you go. There's a cheeky prediction. And I think Lafayette's offload game, once again, I think it won't change anything. They'll have something ready, and it'll be pretty much very similar to what you've been seeing. And so they should. Everyone wants to see that sort of style of rugby. The people that are against South Africa, which is the world, they want to see Japan play like that. So it starts with those two, I think.
Yeah, no, I think I didn't actually know about the intercept king thing, so I'll be looking out for that. Hopefully I don't yell at the TV for that situation.
Yeah.
Out wide is also going to be a battle. We did talk about that already. What do you expect from Japan? Do you expect a running game, or do you think they're going to switch it up and do something different?
I think, like I said before, they're just going to be doing exactly what's been working and trying you guys on the outside. It's going to be a real good battle. Colby and Fukuoka I think they're on the same side this time. They switched them out last time in that pre-tournament game. But geez, what a battle that's going to be. And IMBIBER as well versus Matsushima. I mean, that's another good battle too. It's just there's great battles all around that park. And I think the back three, you know, those Ferraris, the fast cars out the back, it's going to be good fun. It's going to be good watch.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for it. And then for South Africa, I do think they're going to play a kicking game. I think they're going to try and pin Japan back in their own half, make Japan do the running rugby. So I do expect that. Do you have a prediction for this game? What do you think the end score is going to be?
I personally, with the head, of course, I'd be like everyone else in the world that's predicting a South African win, because I think the kicking game will probably work against Japan unless Japan have something to counter it. Their weakness is the kick, yeah, and I think South Africa probably noticed that straight away, and they're going to be doing that, and there's no mistake there. But I think if Japan can control the game even just a little bit, get a bit of the rub of the green, if South Africa have an off day even, which does happen, they're like I said, their defence is only around 82% tackle percentage, which is quite low for South Africa. You'd expect them to be a little bit more, especially around tournament time, especially with the teams that they played as well, other than the Kiwis. I still think Japan by 3. There you go. There's my heart. There's my heart call. And I'm going to go with the heart this weekend. You got to do it because that's the whole fun of it, yeah? Like I said, I think the South Africans will probably take this out, but I'm going to go with my heart and Japan by 3 to continue the dream.
Look, that's a real possibility, your prediction. I do think that could happen, but because of something like soft tries in the start of the game, maybe, especially out on the wing, maybe some soft tries, soft knock-ons or something like that leading up to a try, because if you knock onto Japan and they have their line set, they are going to punish you. They are very New Zealand-like in that sense. And then maybe if there's some penalties up close to the poles, that's also going to benefit them as well. Because, yeah, he doesn't kick the greatest penalties, but if he's close up, I do think he can maybe get some points there. So
yeah, they'll take the points.
Yeah, it is a possibility. That is a possibility for me, but I do think South Africa does have the edge here, even though it's us against the whole world. I do think South Africa will win this one by only 10 points. I do not think it's going to be a big margin victory. I do think it's maybe going to be a penalty and a try with a conversion. That's my prediction for it.
That is a very conservative prediction from a South African man like yourself. It's very interesting to hear that. Yeah, I also think we haven't talked about it. Cards. Can it change a game? I had to say it. That can change a game, couldn't it? You know, it really could. I think both teams have been pretty good in that respect. But you just never know, you know, if a card could really change it.
Yeah, look, it's the one thing we don't actually want to talk about as YouTubers. We don't actually want to bring it up. We do get ridiculed for bringing it up as well, but as a fan as well, you don't want to see that affect the game, especially in knockout stages. You don't want to see a team going out because of that. Especially, say, South Africa. I know from this side, if South Africa lose because of a red card, everyone's going to blame the red card. I
think it's an easy excuse to take for any team, and I think it's a shame, and we don't want to focus on it, but it's unfortunate that... And it's not the ref's fault, you know, and I don't think it's the ref's fault. It's what's happened from above. They're trying to go this direction. I think it needs probably a little bit more looking at again, just quietly. But they've got to think about the fans, and I think everyone wants to see a good game and not just being ruined by a card, you know. And I think let's just fingers crossed that we see a really good game of rugby, and we're all happy afterwards. And I think you can see that happening, and if there's no cards.
Yeah, look, to me, most of the cards in the tournament so far has actually been justified by the framework.
Yep.
I know some people might say it's not like that, but most of them are in the framework where the tackle starts, all that type of stuff. It has been justified by the framework. I just think it has to have a re-look. It shouldn't have been such a thing in the World Cup. So hopefully that type of stuff doesn't happen in this game. Some of that stuff might happen accidentally and it might affect the whole game. So let's not jinx this game.
It's a possibility.
Nothing's going to happen in this game in that sense. Everyone's going to be good. It's just going to be no penalties in the game. It's just going to be drop goals and tries.
It's going to be two contrasting sides, good rugby. It's going to be exciting for 80 minutes, and it's going to be a great game to watch at the stadium and on television. There you go. That's my prediction.
Hopefully that's the thing. Okay, man, thanks for joining me on my channel. I hope you did enjoy it. I always enjoy having you on the channel. You just bring something else to it because you just know that side of the world so much better than I do. I hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy the games this weekend as well.
Oh, bro, I will. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to these games, These probably the most games I'm looking forward to. Also, thanks a lot. I learn a lot more about the South African game because I'm on the other side of the world. You don't get to see as much purely because of the timing, and I think it's really good to have a chat as well. And it's good to see two contrasting styles and seeing trying to compare them and see what we can see into this game, into that crystal ball, and it's good fun. So thanks for having me on.
Okay, sharp man. Enjoy the game this weekend.
I will. You too.
Okay guys, thanks for watching that video. I really appreciate all of you still watching my video, liking the content and subscribing to the channel. I appreciate it, and enjoy this weekend's rugby. It only comes every 4 years, the knockout stages, so it's gonna be a big one, and I hope all of you guys are wearing your green or gold or backing the Japanese team. Either way, enjoy it. Cheers.